Hey, what's up YouTube? You're back with Lightsaber Samurai, and this is the next in my series of videos of lightsaber reviews from ultrasabers.com. And next up we have the Mantis by Ultrasabers. But not just any Mantis. This here is my modified Mantis from ultrasabers.com, and I did a couple of things to it just to make it easier to handle for me in battle, as well as making it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to me. So if you'll keep watching, I'll show you what I did with it, show you just a close-up on the saber, some of its features, and give you my final thoughts on this piece of hardware. So stay tuned and we'll jump right into it. All right, now here is a clip from Emery's official review on ultrasabers.com on their YouTube channel, and this is just him talking about the Mantis here. And notice in the original here, and they're gorgeous sabers. It comes in 4 different colors. You see the arrow shrouds on the towards the emitters and the tri-claws there. And so, like I said, it was a great saber, but I felt it to be a little too heavy, so I made some of my own modifications here. Okay, so now switching back over to my lightsaber, and one of the original issues I had with the base design of it was the length. At 14 and a quarter inches from the pommel to the emitter, and a whopping 17 inches when you account for the claws. This thing was a huge saber, and being that big made it kind of heavy. And if you're like, I mean, let's be honest, you see the saber, you see the design of it, and many of you are looking at this video and thinking about getting this saber for the same reason I got the saber. And that's because I wanted to live out all my Count Dooku fantasies and sit there and practice my Makashi with a curved hilt lightsaber, and sit there and, taunt my opponents with a hoity-toity British accent and all that. I wanted to do all that, but a saber that big was simply just, it was just too big for me. I found it to be quite heavy, and after a while, like, that started to kill my wrist as far as like doing some of the movements I've been working on and things like that. And so fighting one-handed with the saber in its vanilla form was, it honestly was a bit quite a bit over cumbersome to me. So first thing I did, you notice those cool, like arrow kind of shroud that goes around it. So I removed that. I removed pretty much as much of the saber as I can, or as I could at the time. And so I removed that and a couple of other pieces, and simply just to lower the profile of the saber and just to make it lighter. And so in this form, it's actually a couple of pounds lighter, which makes all the difference. Going down here to the pommel, and you see I've got the cool pommel. I had to get the spike in there because I wanted this to be more of like something that a Sith would use. And, so I thought the spikes were more intimidating than the square ones. Having said that, though, this pommel by itself is, several grams. I mean, it's quite heavy, just on its own. It's a large pommel, and that thing is, pretty heavy on its own. And wielding the saber like this makes it even more lighter. Of course, you can't do that because the back is out. If you saw my previous video on the prophecy, in that video, I actually put the shock pommel on the bottom of the prophecy to actually kind of, lengthen the saber so it would fit better in my hand. And I like using the shock pommel on this lightsaber too when I'm dueling with it, just because it keeps the same length as it does with this pommel, but it also it's also much lighter, so it keeps that weight and it balances things really nicely for when I'm dueling with one hand. Another thing that you'll notice off the bat that I did is, you'll see here the claws. Now it has the vanilla version of the saber has 3 claws that come out of each end here, and you'll see that I removed 2 and twisted this to the point so that it's pretty much coming straight out the bottom, kind of like Dooku's lightsaber does. And so, I think this is, if this were like a real world scenario, if I'm, an actual Jedi or Sith, I think this would be an excellent, non lightsaber option. So, for instance, if my lightsaber was damaged or destroyed in combat, it's just another attack option for me, with a razor sharp blade on the end. I can use it, as a knife or something like that. Same thing with the pommel. Pommel strikes with this would be devastating because, of course, being in our universe, these aren't, sharpened to a pointy edge. But, if we lived in the Star Wars universe, that would definitely have these sharpened to the tip. So, but even getting hit in this in our universe, like I think that would hurt quite a bit. And so that was another reason why I went with the one claw and kept this pommel. I think it adds some versatility to the saber as far as combat goes, and it gives me a few more attack options. These I was able to take off with this hex wrench here. I can't remember which one I used. I think I used the 3 on it, if I remember correctly. And they were not easy. They did not come off easy. I sat there and fooled with this. I think it's better if you use the this has like the what am I trying to say, the hexagonal, right? Is that it? With 6 sides. With 6-sided on this, and so once I got that in there, I was able to wedge it out. And I think, the lightsaber, they look pretty decent without them, with those missing. Honestly, with the blade in, it just adds 3 more windows on each side. So aesthetically, I think it looks pretty cool too, because you have these windows coming around horizontal, and then to add some contrast, and you got these vertical windows. So I think that sets the lightsaber off nicely. Another feature, I don't know how well you can see it, but right here on the grip near the activation switch, that kind of ribbed, that kind of ribbed texture on there. I thought that was very cool, and a cool contrast to the rest of the smooth finish of the saber. And I always liked that. I thought that looked really cool, right at the elbow of the saber, I guess. Moving down, so that was the emitter. Like I said, the single claw, the windows. You got that here toward the elbow, and moving down toward the bottom half of the saber. And these almost look like vents here. And I thought that was a very cool design too. Like I said, I think like a lot of detail. This is one of the most detailed sabers that I've seen from Ultra Sabers, just as far as like all the little accents and things that they put on the saber. This is a very showroom, very showroom ready saber. And I mean, just putting this thing on display, it looks gorgeous. I put it on my sword stand that I have, that I moved in my game room, and so it looks stunning in there. And of course, you got the cover tech wheel. For whatever reason, I couldn't remember that in the prophecy video, but the cover tech wheel. And one of the cool things about this is, if I remember correctly, and it's honestly been a while since I really pulled this lightsaber apart and everything. See this cover here? Like, you can actually flip that to the other side. So, I know a lot of times, Ultra Sabers is pretty cool about, you can stipulate which side you want the emitter or the cover tech wheel to be on. But this lightsaber is unique in that this piece here, you can just decide on your own whether you want it on the left or the right. And, I can flip it to the right and then put the battery pack in, and it's not very loose. It's still pretty tight and doesn't wiggle around a lot. And so I like that a lot. So that was another cool feature of the saber. And then, of course, going down to the pommel again. For show purposes, I like the pommel that it came with because I think it looks more intimidating. But generally, in practice, I go with a smoother, kind of streamlined pommel, like the shock pommel, which is one of my favorites. It's very simple. I think the Manicore pommel would look really good on this too, if they're not the same pommel, that is. Because I know this is very similar, if not the same, to another lightsaber. I think it was the Scorpion, which I don't have. But so they might have reused that too for the Manicore to the shock, or they might be slightly different. But like that style of pommel, just that straight pommel, I think looks, I think in practice it plays really well with this saber. So let's go on to the next section here. What you want to see, we'll pop the blade in and check this baby out lit up. So yeah, let's do that right now. Okay, and flipping back to it now that I've got the blade in it, and we can go ahead and fire this up. Before I do, another thing I wanted to point out that this is, it came, I think I had ordered a heavy grade blade with it. Again, once I found out how heavy this bad boy was, I switched it out for a mid-grade blade. And again, that's just to, for one, just to intensify the brightness and the color of the saber, and the mid-grade blades are also about half the weight as the heavy grade blades. So also for the style of lightsaber combat I was going to do with Makashia, it's more thrust and kind of, just the way the slides are. You're not, you're attacking your opponent off, while they're off center to you, and so you're not really doing like heavy cleaving blows. Although a curved hilt lightsaber would also be good for something like Jim So. For the style of combat I use while wielding this one, I thought that the mid-grade blade would be necessary for it, and so I wouldn't need that extra durability of the heavy grade blade. So let's go ahead and fire this up. And you'll see that's in what is they call it? They call it blazing red or crimson red. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been on the website, but you'll see there first. You'll see all the windows here and the accents on the bottom. But then I think it adds another dimension. Of course, it has the slits, so you can see the beam through the slits, but also those windows that were made by removing those claws, I think adds just just another level to the saber while it's illuminated, and I think it looks very cool like that now. So and this is the standard size 36-inch blade. Because the way the emitter's made, it slides in pretty deep, and so you don't have a lot of moving around. Of course, this is the Obsidian soundboard on it, and with this, I changed the sound. Instead of going with the standard sound, I went with the Episode 1 soundboard, and so this one, it has kind of a softer hum to it, but the sensitivity on this is really good too, and I think even more so than my Prophecy, like just moving it a little bit, and I'm not just kind of waving it. And with the Prophecy, I have to do more like sharper movements to activate the sound. But this is kind of, whoops, sorry, just moving this around, and it's just swaying it back and forth activates that. Also, this one, I went all out on this saber. I got the flash on Clash. Right now, I've got this weird purple on it, and so it flashes like purple white when it's clashing. And that's because this also has an emerald driver in it. And so I can change this, the color of this, just by plugging in my computer. I think it's a little, I would say it is a little bit cumbersome to go and use the program. The program is easy to use though, and it's pretty simple, but I'd have to disconnect it and find the plug-in and stuff for that to plug it up. Don't know where that is. So I haven't been able to change the color of this blade in a while. But I've experimented with using it as green and blue and things like that, and most of the colors, it looks great, with the emerald driver. So I would recommend shelling out the extra money for it. I wouldn't do it for every saber, but for a versatile saber like this, because like I said, this is something you can. I wish honestly I had done that with my Prophecy, because I think the Prophecy is like the perfect base saber. It can be light, it can be dark side, and I think the Prophecy looks good in just about every color. So in the future, I may send that in, and like I said, I can send that in to Emery, and they'll put an emerald driver in it for me and then send it back. And so I may do that at some point in the future, or just buy another Prophecy or another saber similar to the Prophecy, and get that job done on it. But I really like the emerald driver, and of course I always like the Obsidian soundboard. This one, the hum isn't, like I said, the hum isn't quite as loud as the default setting, but I think it has a pretty good sound to it. And so yeah, and you can look at that in the red. I mean, and like I said, I mean, the brightness of these sabers, again, I'll state this in every video I make, the brightness is actually quite impressive. Even here, I'm in a well-lit room. I've actually got lighting pointed directly at me, and I mean, I'm sure this is coming out just fine on camera. I took some did some photos and took some pictures this week and posted them on my Instagram and Facebook and things like that. And I think the saber came out pretty well in the videos. The only thing that drowns these sabers out is direct sunlight that I found. I mean, I can be in a well-lit room or even have all the windows open with the sun shining in, and I can still see it just fine in the house. But only when I take it outside in like the middle of the day in bright sunlight does the sabers actually wash out, which is impressive. I hope in the future they get that to the point where you can still see it just like this, even in broad daylight. That would be super dope. But for now, I'll take what I can get. And so now we'll take a look at some closing thoughts. And let me deactivate that, and we'll take a look at some closing thoughts. Alrighty, so in closing, should you buy the Mantis from ultrasabers? I would say I would definitely recommend it. Again, for me, there were a few caveats. Out of the box, it's a beastie saber. So if you're a larger guy, now I think it's going to be right up your alley. Also, if you're looking to practice, something, if you're, as far as lightsaber styles, if you're looking for something more like Jim-So, then this in its vanilla form is devastating and it's brutal. The curved nature works excellent for cleaving strikes, vertical and horizontal, and you definitely, I mean, it feels powerful in your hand. It's almost as if you're wielding like an axe or something like that. Again, for me, and I mean, I'm not a small guy, I would consider myself average size, I'm 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there. And I've got, decent sized hands. I found it to be over cumbersome for me, more so because of the style of lightsaber combat that I wanted to practice with the saber. I mean, the curved saber, I was dying for ultrasabers to make one like this. Because I had jumped in the ultrasaber sometime around 2012, and by then they had, I think the old ones they made with PVC, if I remember correctly, and they had a bunch of curved ones with that, but they were long gone and discontinued by the time I got into collecting these a few years back. And so I was, a lot of the community was clamoring for them to drop one of these, and they finally obliged. And out of the box, it may not be one of the most functional sabers I'll duel with, but it is certainly one of the most beautiful. I mean, this is a display saber through and through, and it's gorgeous design, and I applaud ultrasabers for their attention to detail. And again, for me, one of the things to mention is, of course, they're all MHS compatible, so you can mix and match and, definitely experiment with it. You can remove a lot of the parts to get rid of some of the weight, as I did. And like I said, it was to the point where I did this with a couple of other sabers. I like mixing and matching the parts, and I made a couple of like my own like original designs, and I might show that in a future video. Actually, I think I'll do that on the next lightsaber review. And like I said, so you can tailor this to your specifications. This is one of the things I like about ultrasabers and just MHS compatible sabers in general. I mean, you can take back and remove parts and the like. And so what I got was the curved hilt lightsaber that's basically just perfect for me. So like I said, whether you strip it a little bit as I did, and I could have even stripped it down further if I wanted to, switch the emitters and things like that, and basically just kept the elbow of it and made a completely different lightsaber that was curved out of existing parts. And I may experiment with that in the future, but I think this was the blend of functionality and design that is just perfect for me. I do enjoy dueling with this. When friends and family come over, they see this and they all automatically, ooh, I want to play with that one. And so this is a favorite among my friends and family too. But just leave it down in the comments. What do you think? Is this a saber that you would like to purchase? For all of you out there that own this saber, what do you think about it? Did you find it to be a little heavy like I did? Or is it something that fit just perfect for you? Did you mix and match parts? Let's discuss it down in the comments. As always, I'm Lightsaber Samurai. Thank you for liking and watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. And until next time. Hey, what's up YouTube? Lightsaber Samurai here. Just wanted to thank you again for stopping by and checking out my video. That was a bit of a long one, but again, what do you think about these lightsabers? I really enjoy the combat ready lightsabers from ultrasabers, and you know, other groups like Vader's Vault and Saber Forge and things of that nature. I'm still, you know, heading toward my next subscription goal, which is 150. I'm getting closer. So if you enjoy this content and you want to, you know, see me keep making more, go ahead and share and subscribe. That it greatly helps out the channel, and I appreciate it very much. As always, we'll see you guys next time.